Good evening, this is the Oscar Expert with Brother Bro. It's time for updated Oscar predictions for October 2021. The festivals are over. TIFF, Telluride, Venice, New York Film Festival, they happened. We saw almost all the major movies we needed to except for King Richard. This video is going to be in two parts. We're going to do the Best Picture Director, Acting categories, and Screenplay in this video, and the technical categories, even SAG Ensemble, in the next video. And at number one, we have Belfast. You knew this was coming. And no, I am not going to deviate from this because there's a very good case to make that Belfast can win Best Picture. It is the winner of the People's Choice Award. It's just that charmer. It's just that crowd pleaser. Everybody is seeming to love it. If you think about it, I mean, that's probably going to win SAG Ensemble, am I right? The best way to put it is that if you had it in a competition with all the other fall festival films, like that would probably win Best Picture. Now, when we're thinking about what movie can win Best Picture, ever since No Country for Old Men, it's been a movie that's played at film festivals, specifically at fall film festivals. So, if we're looking at the fall festival slate, that's Belfast. However, this year it looks like we got a decent amount of movies we haven't seen that could upset. That would be unlikely, and obviously it would break a pretty consistent trend. But maybe it can happen this year. Maybe a lot of movies got delayed because of the pandemic and they weren't able to premiere at film festivals like Licorice Pizza or Nightmare Alley. Maybe they would have been at TIFF. It would be exciting if that happened, but I'm not going to bet against it right now because we even had close calls and scares where we thought The Revenant 1917 were going to win and it just went to a Toronto movie. I mean, the trend could easily be broken. I am looking at Licorice Pizza a little bit because I can see it winning Screenplay or Director for sure. Paul Thomas Anderson's most heartfelt movie maybe ever.
In a weird way, this is Oscar bait. PTA doesn't even make Oscar bait, and yet here is some bait for you.
Very reminiscent of Almost Famous, which was a big Oscar movie too.
Yeah, the problem with Licorice Pizza though is that its nomination haul would be like 4 or 5. Don't Look Up might be too fucking bonkers and crazy. House of Gucci also doesn't seem like a film everyone's gonna love, but like, that'd be kind of crazy if it won.
Yeah, I feel like Licorice Pizza has the heart where I could see it being that movie that wins.
If Belfast does win Best Picture, what could be a movie that would challenge that at like Critics' Choice or BAFTA? Maybe they give it to something else. Maybe we don't have a Nomadland year. Let's say we don't.
I think the Critics' Choice would go for Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, like maybe Power of the Dog. I feel like they're not going to go with Belfast, and therefore Belfast might not be a sweeper. But I can see Belfast winning BAFTA because, you know, just give all the awards to Kenneth Branagh, why don't you?
I still think even Critics' Choice could do Belfast, maybe.
And then Belfast obviously lives or dies at PGA, right? Like if Belfast loses PGA, goodbye.
But nothing's ever goodbye. Nothing's ever totally goodbye. We've had it happen 3 times in the last decade.
Yeah, but with this kind of movie,
at least 3 times in the last decade, PGA and Oscars haven't correlated.
King Richard maybe could have won the People's Choice.
Yeah.
If it was at TIFF.
And now King Richard's like gonna win Best Actor probably. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. I mean, it's not even up for debate right now. Given that fact alone, this is a safe Best Picture slot. This is a hard movie not to like. It's a movie that I will probably eat up because I like being charmed by movies like this.
And then there's Nightmare Alley. Trailer for this was just, I mean, everything that you thought it could ever live up to based on The Shape of Water and how amazing looking that movie was. And then Del Toro's doing this with like a fucking carnival noir. You kidding me? With the tech nominations on this one, it's gonna get nominated in like nearly every below the line category. It's not Crimson Peak. Okay, This is Oscar bait.
The cast is just too much. It's like the Don't Look Up cast. It's just like a blinking light and they have to like go towards it. Like they can't ignore this.
Dune is living up for the majority of audiences, and that's why it's number 5 here, okay? Most people are gonna be like, hell yeah, that was really fucking good. Maybe even comparing it to Lord of the Rings or something. Critics, 75 on Metacritic? It doesn't matter. This is a 4.2 on Letterboxd and an 8.6 on IMDb right now. The fans are enjoying it. Everybody's liking it. And so far, international box office has been looking pretty good. Okay?
Really good. And as we'll get to, Dune is getting a lot of other nominations, even if it didn't get Best Picture.
And it's winning some awards. Winning sound also is pretty correlative with getting a Best Picture nomination. And is there any universe where Dune does not win sound?
Dune is fucking impressive, okay? That's all there is to it.
And it's not Blade Runner 2049, by the way. It has a little bit of a slow burn first act, but it totally delivers as like an action-adventure epic. Power of the Dog, some people might expect this to be like a top 3 or a top 5. We have it sitting just outside of number 6 because the movie is probably not the most widely appealing nominee in the bunch. It's not a King Richard. It's not a Belfast. This is for the critics. The critics are eating it up. It might even end up as like the best movie of the year when you compile those like critics' top 10s. Usually those movies do get nominated for Best Picture because they have just those people who think they're that good.
Yeah, but you can look at Letterboxd and you can see that not everybody is over the moon about this film. And it makes sense when you see it. Like, I'm telling you, I finished the film and I was like, is that gonna get nominated? And based on the reactions, I do think it will. But it's one of those that it made me question. It's not like 100% safe, unfortunately. I really do like the film.
It's got performances, though. It's got a couple texts you can do. I mean, Jane Campion's going to get in for screenplay no matter what.
House of Gucci is just one of those late season awards-breaking films with an irresistible cast. We have 3 of them. 3 with irresistible casts that are coming out late.
7, 8, and 9 are going to be film Twitter's worst enemies. All these movies are going to despise them. House of Gucci, Don't Look Up, West Side Story, they're not going to like any of them.
Yeah, House of Gucci is like Vice. Not everybody will like it, but it will have enough people who think it's really fun and love the performances that I think this is going to have a pretty easy time getting in, and I feel like it'll be kind of a crowd pleaser. It's almost 3 hours. I don't know if that's a good thing right now.
Well, they could cut it down.
I hope that they can make this down to 2:15 or 2:20.
At the same time, that makes it Oscar bait, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
Having a 2-hour, 45-minute runtime makes it total Oscar bait.
Don't Look Up is also Vice because it's Adam McKay and it's beating you over the head with telling you about global warming, except they're telling you about a meteor that's going to crash. It's just obvious the jabs this is going for, but I'm one of those people. I think there are many of us out there who I just think I'm going to eat it up anyway. And I will eat it sloppily with my hands behind my back as fast as I can gobble it.
Critics are probably going to knock this one for lacking subtlety, but at the same time, is it going to lack subtlety so hard that it just becomes like funny?
Is it even a criticism to be like, oh, it doesn't have subtlety?
Yeah.
I feel like Adam McKay is like, fuck you. You can criticize me all you want for not being subtle. I'm just going to keep doing it until you stop. Like, until you look silly. It's like saying that South Park is offensive. You can criticize it for that, but you kind of look silly.
This and House of Gucci, I think they can get pretty mixed reviews and still get into Best Picture.
Yeah. And many of you are like, what about that clip? What about the atrocious clip with the atrocious music choices and editing? The one thing I would say about that is that I didn't like the tampon joke because, you know, why? It's like outdated. It's like outdated sexism. Other than that, the music and the editing in this clip are probably not a part of the cut of the actual movie.
They are actually not. Literally, people told me this. The scene is much longer and it does not have that dumbass music in it. So don't even bother with that clip. Don't worry about it, okay?
At worst, maybe this film is really obnoxious, okay? At worst, it's so obnoxious that we have to say no to it. But there have been like test screening reactions enough that it doesn't seem we're gonna get that.
And then West Side Story, I can see some controversy coming at this thing. Like maybe some of the casting choices not being authentic, or maybe just comparing it to In the Heights and being like, look, In the Heights, even though that movie had like issues of colorism, maybe it does that sort of representation better than this movie, which is like directed by Spielberg. I don't know. I can see it coming a mile away. I think the movie can overcome it though, because if the movie is giving the voters like that nostalgia for classic Oscar bait, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, the production design and the cinematography looks kind of off the charts, and I can't really deny this anymore.
Yeah, you could nominate a couple actors in there. Spielberg got 4 movies last decade into Best Picture, so I mean, Spencer at 10. We both kind of feel like this is not gonna end up happening.
I have a feeling like it is going to slip. It does feel more like Jackie as the festival high wears off. I did really like the film, and there are so many people who love this thing. I think it'll stay in the conversation for certain nominations, but I do think it's vulnerable here, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because this would be one of my favorites in the category as it's shaping up.
It's maybe more accessible than Jackie, but it's also still not that Oscar bait.
It's just so opposite The Crown.
The movie's getting rave reviews, yes, but it's not like everybody's giving it 10 out of 10. It's not like getting Power of the Dog reviews on Metacritic or anything.
Spencer and Dune both had really huge festival highs. Dune is like killing it on Letterboxd. Spencer is doing pretty well on Letterboxd, but it's still got that like high 8 stack.
Especially with 10, it's the kind of movie that would normally be on the chopping block, but maybe it can get in this year. I think it just depends if anything else pops up. And obviously, if Kristen Stewart is in the winning conversation, that really does keep the film buoyant.
Another film we haven't seen is Tick, Tick, Boom. It doesn't look as ironclad as some of these other ones, but there is some buzz that Andrew Garfield could be giving an Oscar-worthy performance in the film, and that it might be one of Netflix's big pushes this year.
Tragedy of Macbeth. Some people will probably be surprised that we don't have this in the top 10. The movie's giving you straight Shakespeare dialogue, and that's not always easy to digest. It's also very artsy, in a way that I think people will be able to appreciate. I don't think that people are going to hate the movie, but it's very much some people's thing, and for other people it just will not be their thing just because it is so hardcore Shakespeare.
It's also harder to craft a narrative for this because the narrative is that it does Shakespeare really, really well. It has the performances, it has the production design, the cinematography, that's all kind of Oscar worthy, but it doesn't surprise us with a story.
Yeah, it's the exact story that you knew.
It's not even a criticism of the film. It's just like what it is.
Coda had a weird release strategy. Like coming out in August was just kind of weird for it. Like it could have waited and hit Toronto Film Festival and been a big deal there and then come out a little bit later. And if it did that, I think it probably could have gotten nominated. It has a very high IMDb rating, like 8.1. And to me, that's kind of obvious. When you see the movie, it's like, of course, everybody loves this thing. Maybe Apple TV will really turn around and do a huge campaign for it.
It feels like a movie that could have gotten in last year's Oscars. And this year, you know, it could, but it will have a little more of a struggle. Being the Ricardos has Nicole Kidman, Javier Bardem. Apparently, they're going to be insane in this movie.
Yeah, they're playing Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. It couldn't be more Oscar bait, and yet everybody's kind of leaving this on the outskirts. We have to watch out if it can pop up. Is it going to be Aaron Sorkin's best project? Maybe not. Maybe it'll be like Molly's Game level, and maybe Nicole Kidman can get in. Maybe it can get screenplay, but maybe it doesn't go all the way for like picture and editing nominations or whatever. But there is early word that Kidman and Bardem are totally eating up these roles. I'm watching out with my big, long fucking telescope.
Mass, I'm convinced that this comes down to whether people actually see the movie or not. I'm really convinced because Bleecker Street not having it at the festivals is concerning everyone who was a big fan of Mass, including myself. We'll talk about it more with the acting categories, but there's just some things about the movie that are undeniably Oscar-worthy, like performances and screenplay. But unfortunately, we don't know what the hell Bleecker Street is doing. We just don't know.
Because Bleecker Street has never gotten a movie nominated before, and it's not really their thing to have big Oscar contenders. But when they picked it up from Sundance, their intention was, let's actually try to get an Oscar contender in the race. And we're all kind of just like, please do it justice. Please do this justice.
I am confident, though, that it will get at least one nomination, which makes me hopeful because even that puts it on people's radars. And I do think critics groups will help because critics groups are going to have to nominate the performances. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. In the Heights, what are the odds of this one rebounding?
I would give it like 15%.
That's pretty low. I mean, what if West Side Story happens to be like, remember In the Heights? And then people go back to it. The other problem here is that Warner Brothers has Dune and King Richard, and obviously those are going to be better choices for them.
I don't think they would make In the Heights their priority.
And then Flea, I feel skeptical about Flea mainly because it's a documentary. I mean, there's no opportunity to nominate screenplay or actors, and even the director is not really someone who people know their name. Like, who is associated with this film, really? The only reason I have it on here is because Neon's confident.
From what I've heard, Neon is going to give this the biggest push it could possibly get. And yet they're running up against a lot of obstacles to get this nominated. Although it is one of the best films of the year, and I don't think many people would deny that.
It's just hard to get that kind of visibility on a film like that, though.
Yeah, and there's like no actors in it. I mean, it's a totally different game. I don't know how they're going to play it, but if they win this game, they will be the champions of campaigning.
We have Come On, Come On, which is getting very good reviews, but it's a little bit subdued. It's a little subtle, and I think critics are going to like it a lot, but I don't know if it's going to be the kind of movie that has enough passion.
Yeah, I'm like one of the most ardent fans of this film, and I just see a lot of people who are saying, you know, they really like it, but this or that, like it has a couple problems for them. And I get that, and I think that is going to hold it back from cracking like a Best Picture.
Yeah, for that movie to get Best Picture, it needs to have like Lady Bird or Marriage Story reviews, and it's not really there. Worst Person in the World. This is not just here because it's like a wish list pick for me. It's hard to find people who have seen this film who don't love it.
And even at TIFF, I heard the most buzz about this film. I know it didn't place because I guess I was hearing buzz within a limited group. At New York Film Festival, I went only a couple times this week, and I passed people talking about it like twice. So I don't know what's going on with this. It does seem like it could win international feature.
It's also one of the most critically acclaimed movies of the year, but I agree. I mean, I'm not quite seeing it. Swan Song has been confirmed for this year. Mahershala Ali is in it. Naomi Harris, Awkwafina, and Glenn Close are in it. And it's a sci-fi drama.
We'll see. Sci-fi drama. I mean, we haven't seen it, so that's why it's on here.
Director, we got Branagh at number 1 for Belfast, and I don't really like this. I will not be that happy if Belfast wins Best Picture, and especially Best Director. I thought the movie was good, but I am not on board with thinking it is deserving of the top prize. But why do we have him at number 1 in director? We kind of just don't really know who else would be the front runner. I mean, we have other possibilities for the win. Certainly Villeneuve and Del Toro are doing huge projects bound to get lots of technical nominations. But Branagh also has a great narrative behind this movie where it's like based on his childhood. Sometimes the director winners are like, okay, like Michelle Hazanavicius for The Artist, like it just happened.
Belfast is the kind of movie that it doesn't need to take director as well as picture, but there was enough there with the direction that I could see it winning if they didn't have this other option. Denis Villeneuve is doing this year's technical achievement. I don't think Dune will win Best Picture. I don't think it will really come close to doing that. But Life of Pi won director, and that wasn't that close to winning Best Picture.
Well, that's because they made a fuckery out of the category.
That'd be like if they didn't nominate Branagh.
I mean, there could be a narrative that forms around Villeneuve anyway, because he's one of the most respected voices in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hasn't won an Oscar yet. I mean, Branagh hasn't won an Oscar either, but he could get screenplay.
It's very much like blockbuster filmmaking, though.
Del Toro could win another Oscar. He could.
I don't know if I would see that, but I guess. Visually, the film seems amazing, but I don't know if it is a Best Picture film because I don't really know where like the heart of the movie is. Shape of Water had a lot of heart.
Yeah, but that's why I could get director, not picture. Campion, some people are more confident about her winning director than I am. Again, it's just I don't think the movie is like a top contender. I think that's all there is to say about it. However, it is very meticulously crafted in the way that this branch likes, and so I think she will get nominated for it.
It's interesting, though, because Power of the Dog, I do think it could slide, and she's not a lock either. As much as I would love to nominate her. Though, I keep saying to myself, okay, even if it does slide, like, director's branch could still eat it up, right? Couldn't they? But at the same time, all the movies that slid that I liked and I wanted to get in, The Master, Beale Street Carol, they didn't get director. So it could be the same fate.
We got PTA for Licorice Pizza. PTA's got a whole lot of respect. Not many directors have more respect than he does. It doesn't look like the kind of movie that's going to dominate crafts in the way that Nightmare Alley is, but it just looks like it could be one of the best movies of the year.
Though I think if Licorice Pizza is just great, maybe screenplay is the category they're more comfortable rewarding it in.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy him winning the category with
It'd be interesting if you have this 2-horse race between Licorice Pizza and Belfast because they're competing in the same category with the same individuals nominated. And you might have to wonder, like, would Licorice Pizza take director if that was the case, and then Belfast take screenplay, and then Belfast take picture? Like, it's kind of interesting trying to divvy it up.
Then Adam McKay and Don't Look Up. I mean, this is pretty high because he's just hard to deny. I mean, he got nominated for Vice and The Big Short. The Academy is not sick of him. You cannot find a cluster of people who are more in agreement that they love Adam McKay than the Academy themselves.
Just seeing him in number 6 makes me go, oh no, for literally everybody else in this category. But I just don't know who to take out. That's the truth of the matter. I just don't know. Lorraine for Spencer. Spencer could slide. This could slide. There's only 5 slots here.
The director's branch could see him as a filmmaker where they owe him after a career of really good films and really interestingly crafted films, and Spencer is no different.
That is only if the film gets in, of course.
Well, I think it's one of a few possibilities of a director nomination without picture. I think him, Joel Coen, and Julia Ducournau are probably the 3 possibilities, I would say, for getting a director nomination without Best Picture, like we saw last year with Another Round. Spielberg for West Side Story, I mean, that just seems like if the movie's really strong, he could come along with it. But we do have to remember that out of the 4 films he got nominated in Best Picture last decade, he was only nominated for Lincoln, so it doesn't always happen. However, West Side Story looks very well crafted.
Joel Coen, I'm not that confident in it.
But is Joel Coen, and he is kind of reinventing his style and doing something very creative visually.
He's not reinventing his style.
What has he done that's like this? The hell are you talking about?
It's not a reinvention in that every subsequent film he makes will look different. And
that's not what I'm saying.
That's what reinvention means.
That's not what I meant.
That's what you said. If Ducournau is nominated for Teton, I will foam at the mouth. I will be extraordinarily happy.
They need to do this just for me and my reaction, and all of you need to advocate for this too, because if Ducournau gets nominated, I will have the greatest fucking reaction you've ever seen. I will flip out. It'll be Bong Joon-ho winning Best Director level happy if she gets nominated for director, okay? So that needs to happen.
A true cinematic experience that just shook me.
Extraordinarily well crafted. The cinematography, the editing, the sound. It's my pick for Best Director right now, unquestionably.
I actually do think this could happen though. Like, this is also not a wish list pick. even though it's a wish list pick.
I feel like we would have to see this get nominated at BAFTA first, because typically when international directors are nominated at the Oscars, you see them at the BAFTA first.
That would certainly be an indication. And then you have one of those movies that, you know, even if King Richard was winning Best Picture, we'd be like, oh, is it actually going to get director? Ridley Scott for House of Gucci, I kind of like chuckled when I saw your placement of this. House of Gucci seems pretty likely to get nominated. Why would this be number 12? And that's like not even top 10, and it's like number 8 in your picture.
And I stand behind it because it's just not going to happen in director. He could literally be Aaron Sorkin and get nominated everywhere, and he'd still get stumped for the Oscar. He didn't get nominated for The Martian, and it's not going to be like the critics' favorite movie of the year. The cinematography doesn't look that great. Lin-Manuel Miranda, Tick, Tick, Boom. I mean, certainly if Tick, Tick, Boom emerges as a Best Picture contender, people will talk about Lin-Manuel Miranda getting a director nomination. Sorrentino for The Hand of God. This had a little bit more hope before its Venice premiere. The critic reviews are less good than we expected, for sure. However, now Letterboxd has like a 4.0. A lot of people are giving it 9 and 10, and that confuses me. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't understand why this is happening. Maybe he's this year's Vinterberg. Maybe.
Joachim Trier, even if Worst Person in the World wins International Feature, even if it gets Best Picture hype, I'm not sure he would get in for director.
More of a screenplay movie, I think.
Yeah. Sean Hayter for Coda. The movie's just not very stylish, and that really matters, especially with the director's branch of the Academy Awards.
With Farhadi for A Hero, I really don't understand why people still think he's getting nominated for this. I get that he's a filmmaker who deserves a director nomination, like considering his body of work, he should be recognized in that way. But A Hero's not like his best film. Not enough people think that for him to get nominated here. I really don't think so. And the same with Almodovar.
Actress, you have Stewart in Spencer. And I'm not even convinced that she wins, because you think Chastain's very strong, and I obviously agree with you that Chastain gave one of the most Oscar bait performances I've ever seen. And also like one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen. I'll just put it out there. I fucking loved her performance in this. It was amazing. And everybody should see the movie for that alone. I have a hard time imagining how it could knock your socks off that much and not win the Oscar, but people are saying box office, it didn't perform well. I feel like this seems like a movie that people are like, yeah, let's watch that at home anyway. If they run the right campaign, I don't see why she couldn't win. If everybody sees this film,
I don't know how big the interest is in Tammy Faye, but the box offices are showing those numbers. There's a bigger interest in the Princess Diana story, and Kristen Stewart, you know, it just makes sense that she could win for this performance. It is just as transformative as anything that would normally win the Oscar.
Not as transformative as Chastain and Tammy Faye.
Okay,
it's
sure.
Not even. Like,
it's not
even
big.
That level. I love Stewart's performance in Spencer as well, and I would be happy if she won the Oscar.
I think Chastain, her biggest threat will be shown if she wins the SAG. If she loses the SAG, she's fucking done. Stewart, I think, will win Critics' Choice. More importantly, I think Stewart will win the BAFTA because it's about Princess Diana. Meryl Streep won for The Iron Lady. She won because she played Margaret Thatcher. Didn't even matter if she was British or not. Didn't matter at all. And we've seen that the BAFTA award for Best Actress is ridiculously good at predicting the Oscar for Best Actress. It's absurd. And so if Kristen Stewart won that award, I wouldn't care that Jessica Chastain won the SAG.
But I'm also curious if British people are more likely to see Spencer as this annoying character who's very petulant and just not understanding like why can't she just behave herself, because they're more attached to the tradition. And I know that's probably not representative of BAFTA voters versus the general population, but I have to imagine that sentiment is somewhat there.
The other thing is, if Spencer gets nominated for Best Picture, I'll be much more convinced that it's Kristen Stewart. If Spencer did not get nominated for Best Picture, and then we also had a scenario where Andrew Garfield got nominated in supporting for Tammy Faye, that to me would sort of even out those playing fields a little bit. Because I feel like the way that Tammy Faye overperforms is Garfield gets nominated. This is like 4D chess I'm playing, but I'm just saying.
I guess.
Then Lady Gaga for House of Gucci. I don't think she can contend with these other two. I mean, I feel like Jessica Chastain and Kristen Stewart, in many years, they'd just be taking it.
But she will get nominated. Some people are like, oh, I don't know about that. But look,
she will.
Just if I'm wrong, you can send me hate mail. Unless the movie fucking is bad. Unless it's just bad. And even if it's bad, she gets a SAG nomination. I don't know what to tell you.
The next two are going to be counterintuitive to many people's top fives, because many top fives right now are picking the movies that have been seen at festivals and are getting buzz, and they are putting them in here. So you might be saying, you don't have Coleman, you don't have McDormand, you don't have Penelope Cruz, And yet you're picking Nicole Kidman for a movie that nobody's seen yet. And you're picking Jennifer Hudson for Respect, who's clearly just dropping off with all the other fall contenders. No. Let me explain these things. Nicole Kidman playing Lucille Ball. I thought about this and I was like, how do we not nominate her? How does this not happen? In what scenario? I don't care how fucking late the movie comes out. She doesn't look like her. Not gonna matter. People who have seen it so far say like, sure, she can get nominated. Like, of course.
Yeah, it might be kind of a no-brainer when we do see it and we're like, oh shit. Jennifer Hudson you still have in here for Respect. And that makes sense because audiences ate that shit up.
They really ate that shit up.
And now, she's doing bait. Like, she's giving you the bait that you want.
She's singing, she's playing Aretha Franklin. Maybe she misses the Oscar because of competition. But we always do this where we think that the new competition automatically overtakes the old. The old is strong. I actually think Jennifer Hudson is strong here. Maybe she gets taken down. I mean, it's very possible that Olivia Colman, who apparently is giving one of, if not the best performances of her incredible career, takes her out.
And Olivia Colman's just never bad. She's always like, wow, this is one of our amazing, great actresses.
Lost Daughter might not be as high profile as other films. Actually, it's Netflix. Actually, Netflix did buy it. If you want to know my strategy here, I just realized all 5 of the performances in the top 5, they're playing real ass people. Nobody's playing an original character. And then Penelope Cruz in Parallel Mothers. I mean, she could easily be in the top 5 too, because she's getting excellent reviews. People are saying it's one of her best performances, and she's been nominated like 3 times, including for an Almodovar film. And Frances McDormand, why do we not have her in?
McDormand is nearly a sure thing if she's in supporting. I'm more skeptical of her getting in for actress, especially when you have these other contenders.
But we have.
It's not like, oh, I have never seen someone do this before. Like, it's a character we've seen a lot. She does an amazing job at it.
She also really stands out. I mean, she registered to me kind of as a co-lead almost.
I wouldn't feel the need to nominate her, for example.
As much and you love Frances McDormand.
I wouldn't say it's like her best performance, though. It's not like Nomadland or For Three Billboards. It's not.
Cate Blanchett, Nightmare Alley. It's a supporting role, but there are 3 actresses in this film, as you'll see, that are going to be giving very good performances. And you have to think maybe they're going to spread it out. And Cate Blanchett feels like she could go lead for something like this, maybe. And she's also kind of low because we have to wait and see with that movie where they're going to put everybody and see who is the most prominent player.
Jodie Comer, Last Duel, seems less likely than the ones that we've just mentioned. But if it was totally slimmed down, like, yeah, she's somewhat of a contender. People really like her in the movie.
Yeah, but for a movie that's getting like sort of mixed reviews and for a performance that borders the line between lead and supporting, I don't see this being a lone actress nominee for The Last Duel. Rachel Zegler could definitely happen for West Side Story, but she's just not like this acting titan or like a giant yet.
It may or may not be fair, but she does look really young, and that does hold people back from getting nominations.
Not always. They've definitely nominated people in their younger 20s for lead acting Oscars.
Yeah, but it's not the same as when you have a more established and older actress. It's just not the same.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this year where you have a lot of those. Halle Berry in Bruised. This is coming to Netflix later. We're still waiting on a trailer, actually. She directed herself in this film. I don't know if the movie's gonna get like great reviews that'll propel her to this nomination. Alana Haim in Licorice Pizza. We recently found out that she was a lead. She looks really good, though it'll probably hurt her that she's a newcomer. She would have to really, really blow people away to get nominated.
Jennifer Lawrence in Don't Look Up doesn't seem like she's doing as much as she normally does, and I just see her as being a little bit weaker. Like, that character doesn't seem that likable either. Renate Reinsve in Worst Person in the World that's a little bit of a wish list. That's like...
Yeah, I'm almost considering if she even belongs here anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. Best Actor is Will Smith, and that is actually probably not going to change.
Nope.
If I had to bet on one person winning one award this year, it might be that. It is a career award. This will most likely be a Best Picture nominated film.
It's just such a friendly movie, and Will Smith is doing a comedy special. He's writing a memoir, and he's in like this Disney Plus like adventure series. He's really working to make this his year, okay? It's happening. Denzel Washington, Tragedy of Macbeth. He's insanely good as Macbeth, and he has to get nominated. Even if the movie's in Best Picture, don't care. He has to get nominated because he's that fucking good.
Washington seems pretty secure. Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog. You know, after I saw Power of the Dog, I did think if the movie slides, the actors could slide as well. Like, I don't even think he's a lock, but he has some really strong buzz, and it's undeniable. I do think he belongs at number 3.
I think he's getting in, and I think he's insanely good in the movie, too.
Yeah. Dinklage in Cyrano is pretty interesting since this movie has virtually no shot in Best Picture, whereas the other films in this category absolutely do and are getting nominated in other categories.
But the reviews for his performance when they dropped were just like, you need to put him on. He is just that good. It's a musical, so he's singing, and people would love to nominate Peter Dinklage.
I honestly wonder if he'll move to like a number 2 slot, you know, later when we see the film, when people are really buzzing.
I also hear that the movie's pretty crowd friendly. DiCaprio in Don't Look Up could be undeniable that he gets nominated here. He's doing a little bit of his comedy thing that's worked for him in Wolf of Wall Street and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, he looks really funny, and he's definitely the lead, and he's kind of having panic attacks with like this neck beard, and it works for me. I already like it. It would be weird for that movie to go all the way into like picture, director, whatever it's gonna get, and then him not come along with it. That would just be kind of odd to me.
But I kind of wanted Bradley Cooper in here for Nightmare Alley, because Bradley Cooper is going to be in nearly every scene of this film. I think he's playing a really complicated character. I think he's going to do it pretty subtly, so maybe that's where he can miss this nomination. But we definitely can't underestimate Bradley Cooper. He's an Academy favorite for sure.
There's buzz that Andrew Garfield is gonna get a nomination for Tick, Tick, Boom. We haven't seen it. I haven't talked to anybody who has seen it, so we're reserving it, but like that could definitely happen. That's all I can say.
Javier Bardem in Being the Ricardos. There were a couple test screening reactions to this film, and they were saying that he maybe steals the show from Kidman. There were a couple people who said that. That's saying a lot. And I think he's probably a lead.
If he's not in lead, that's really interesting. When you look at the supporting actor category, that's fucking interesting. Joaquin Phoenix in Come On, Come On. He deserves a nomination. It's one of my favorite performances of the year. And yet, I don't know if he can get nominated.
He's a little subtle. He's not doing the Joker. He's not freaking out. He's not putting on clown makeup and being a psychopath.
It could happen, but there would have to be some slip-ups in this top 5. Too many arrangements. He has to be down here for now.
And Adam Driver in House of Gucci, I just can't put him above other people. I don't think it's impossible that he finds himself in the conversation, but I just can't believe that his performance is above anybody else here.
Nicolas Cage in Pig would be an insane resurgence that would have to be motivated by critics. I think it's pretty unlikely, but sure, why not?
Hoping for a Critics' Choice nomination there. That is not impossible if they have 7 or 8 nominees. Clifton Collins Jr. in Jockey. There's a lot of people who kind of think this is happening because he won at Sundance, and I did see the movie, and he's really good in it, but like, who's going to see Jockey? Who's going to see Jockey? Ain't nobody gonna see Jockey. Mahershala Ali, Swan Song. We just haven't seen the movie yet. He is playing a cancer patient who clones himself. All right. Kind of an interesting role.
Cooper Hoffman doesn't seem like he'd get nominated for Licorice Pizza, but why not?
Supporting actress.
Okay, this is interesting. I made this case, so I'm going to explain myself here. Katrina Balfe is everybody's number 1 right now, it seems. She was good in Belfast. And if Belfast is going to win an Oscar that's not screenplay or picture, yeah, she could win. I don't think she came across as Oscar worthy, but people haven't seemed to find a winner anywhere else. However, if people see Mass, if they see it, if they see Hand Out in it, how do you give the Oscar to anybody else? Katrina Balfe in Belfast wasn't nearly as good as Hand Out in Mass. It doesn't make sense if you've seen the movie that you would give it to anyone else. It doesn't always go that way though at the Oscars, and Mass is not in the best hands, okay? It's just not.
But Ann Dowd may campaign herself, and she has a great case to make as somebody who could win this specific category because she's been great in supporting roles like in Handmaid's Tale. And I was kind of just defaulting to Katrina Balfe, who's really good, by the way, my favorite performance in the movie. And people have won for doing less than she did.
And she also has like a scene where she cries.
She cries more than once in a close-up.
Everybody has a close-up where they do a lot in this movie. Like,
exactly.
I remember being like, their Oscar moment, we just had it there. She has it. So she'll get nominated. It'll happen.
Also, some people think that this is lead. Some people think Katrina Balfe and Jamie Dornan are lead.
They're not actually lead.
No, they're not lead.
If they campaign them in lead, it would be nuts.
Like at all lead. It's not like Minari or anything like that. Like they're just not lead. No. I don't even know why people are entertaining it.
What also gives me hope is that I don't see Mass coming away with 0 nominations. I mean, that would be disgraceful.
A lot of people are losing confidence in her even being nominated. And I say, how the fuck do you not nominate Ann Dowd? I don't know.
All I can say again is they better show this to everybody. They better show it to people.
Ingenue Ellis, King Richard, happening. Absolutely happening. Every review says easily that's happening, and easily that's happening. Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. This is just one of those roles that seems like destined. Like whoever was going to play this was going to get nominated. We have not seen it yet, but There's reason to be pretty confident about it. And getting nominated in supporting actress for a musical just happens all the time. Like, name one Oscar musical that didn't get a supporting actress nomination. I mean, okay, La La Land, but like, stop. Kirsten Dunst's Power of the Dog. This is lower than other people have her. Some people are still clamoring onto the idea that she could win. And I don't agree with that, really.
Kirsten Dunst, you know, if it comes down to the wire and you get a Nightmare Alley in there and you get a Meryl Streep and Don't Look Up, like, is she safe? I think the answer is no.
Yeah.
She might not be safe because liking her depends on how much you like the movie, because it's subtle and her performance is subtle, and the more deeply you can read into her character, the more you'll want to nominate her. That's kind of how it goes. The thing that I see really going for her is that she has the narrative of she's been being snubbed by Hollywood forever, and she's been Oscar worthy before in Melancholia, and no one paid attention. She hasn't been getting the roles, so we'd love to see her nominated so that you can give Kirsten Dunst more roles. So the career thing is gonna really help her here.
Marlee Matlin and Coda was hard to cut, but we have a really strong top 5. So I ended up doing it because Coda seems like it could be weaker overall. Coda could rebound though, and Marlee Matlin is like the face of that movie, and she could campaign herself. She freaking presented an award at last year's Oscars, okay? She's in the spotlight. She's back. And her performance is more than good enough to be nominated for this film. And then Nightmare Alley, you know, Rooney Mara, I'm starting to think is above Toni Collette. I also feel like, how does Nightmare Alley not get a nomination in this category? Even if Rooney Mara and Toni Collette somehow just weren't enough to be nominated and the studio sensed that, they'd be like, oh, let's get Cate Blanchett in supporting. And then Cate Blanchett would get nominated no matter what, easily. So someone's going to get nominated for Nightmare Alley here.
Meryl Streep in Don't Look Up, she's going to be goofy, but so is Sam Rockwell. And he got nominated. She apparently has a good amount of screen time. People are saying it's enough for her to get nominated. It's not just a cameo.
I think we could see a resurgence for Ruth Negga's hype for Passing, which has been a little subdued since Sundance, but the trailer came out recently, and I kind of went, yeah, Ruth Negga was like really good. They should nominate her.
Passing's not everybody's movie, but she's really good, and I would maybe nominate her for that.
We also remember how much of a surprise she was for getting into Loving, so the actors branch likes her already.
Judi Dench for Belfast. This is interesting, because after Belfast, I was like, they're probably just gonna nominate Dench. Like, I don't know how it's gonna happen. She barely does a thing. She barely does a thing, but she like could still get nominated for this. There's absolutely nothing bad to say about Judi Dench. Just that this performance doesn't let her do all that much.
And Katrina Balfe too is competing with her, and one of them is clearly more of a contender.
But like, I could still see this happening and being like a little bit upset.
If she took out like anybody else.
It just could, if they're that in love with Belfast and they just like nominating grandmas for Oscars.
Jane Howdyshell in The Humans. I even liked her more than Richard Jenkins in this movie. I really thought she was great in this, and she'd be worthy of a nomination, but weird movie. It's also A24. Like, what's going to happen with that movie? I'm not convinced it gets nominated for much of anything.
Olga Meredith, speaking of grandmas, has fallen a lot from In the Heights. She really seemed like she was going to be a package deal with the film, and I think that's why. If In the Heights goes, like, I don't know. She had one scene where she was really good.
It was only like 5 minutes long.
That was kind of it. Salma Hayek and House of Gucci, we don't know how much she's in it.
We don't know what she's doing yet.
We're saying maybe. We're saying maybe to Selma.
Martha Plimpton in Mass is so goddamn low.
I want to throw up. I do want to throw up for this. She was as good, if not like more to me than Ann Dowd even was.
She should be nominated.
However,
lead
Ann
actress.
Dowd will schmooze up voters. I think the narrative's going to circle around her.
And that's why I feel like Martha Plimpton has like almost no chance, which is so weird because she's the best. She should be in lead. I don't like that decision. I think it was a bad decision. You really threw Plimpton under the bus to put her in supporting.
I would maybe like make her win in lead. I don't know. I just love this performance so much.
Sally Hawkins and Spencer. She's good in the movie. I don't think she did enough. Alexandra Shipp in Tick, Tick, Boom is playing a role that was Tony nominated or won, I think, on Broadway with this production. So I have her here. Catherine Hunter in The Tragedy of Macbeth for The Witches. Nutty performance, crazy performance, a standout in the movie, but probably not going to end up happening. And then I just have Regina King in The Harder They Fall because she could be like kind of fun and badass. And then Glenn Close in Swan Song, like, I don't need to. I don't really like the idea that we're just entertaining every time Glenn Close is in a movie. She's just like, Glenn Close is gonna win the Oscar. It's not gonna happen this time.
She was in another movie that nobody cares about.
Yeah, so 4 Good Days.
That's case A for you, Exhibit A.
4 Good Days ain't happening, by the way, if you were curious.
Supporting actor. This is interesting. Jason Isaacs and Mask. If he's actually number one, that's a really strong case for Mask to get a picture.
Okay, but we're the
if
only...
there's like two people winning, yeah, no one else is predicting this.
You kind of convinced me on this one too.
I have the same exact argument for Endowed, that if enough people watch it, like Jason Isaacs is clearly maybe the best supporting actor.
Maybe.
Here.
There's no way anybody could be better than Jason
Yeah,
Isaacs.
look at this lineup. It's kind of weak, okay?
That's
this
the whole
lineup's kind of weak.
The trailer for Licorice Pizza made me say, you know, I don't know if Bradley Cooper's going to be in it that much. He could get nominated. Anyway, sure.
This really did, from the trailer, feel like a funny cameo. It's really a performance that's having fun with itself, but it's not going to be a deep thing where maybe in the third act, he becomes like a real human being to you. I feel like he's just going to be kind of an egomaniac the whole movie, and maybe that still gets him nominated.
He's underneath Sean Penn and Tom Waits in the cast list in order of billing, and that's a bad sign to me.
Doesn't look like he would win. It really doesn't. And I'm glad, because I don't want to see him win his first Oscar in supporting actor for being goofy.
You want him to win it for Bernstein next year, we understand.
Yeah, I want him to do a lead or a director.
There's also been rumors that his performance is a smaller role. And then we're just looking at this competition, right? Jamie Dornan in Belfast, I'm pretty confident that he gets the nomination as long as he's campaigning and supporting. It'd be ridiculous if he wasn't.
Yeah, he's just a dad that you want to like hide behind his leg.
Yeah, he's protective. He's got some scenes that you can definitely play during the Oscar clip. He doesn't have to be nominated, which is kind of crazy. Like, Jamie Dornan is getting an Oscar nomination.
He's memorable in it, and he's very likable apparently in person.
Jared Leto, House of Gucci. I mean, where is he? Where is he underneath all this makeup? He's searching for an Oscar. That's what he's doing underneath the makeup. I don't see Jamie Dornan winning. I don't see Jared Leto winning. And if Bradley Cooper doesn't have enough screen time, then who the hell's gonna win? I feel like it's risky that we're predicting Mask to win 2 acting awards, and maybe a little foolish. I do agree, like, I'm okay with doing it for now because I'm not convinced about who people think are the front runners.
But watch Ann Dowd just get showered in Critic Awards. Watch it.
That's the thing. And Critic Awards, you know, we always say they don't really mean that much. And sure, at the same time, look who won the acting awards last year, and look who was sweeping Critics Awards last year.
Maria Bakalova, Yoo Jung-yoon, who both got nominated. One of them won. Paul Raci was sweeping in supporting actor.
Well, Kaluuya started sweeping when he was eligible.
Yeah.
And then McDormand was out front.
Critics boosted Promising Young Woman and Sound of Metal last year, I would say.
But Critics Awards aren't everything, obviously. I mean, we have Ethan Hawke is the best example of how that doesn't always translate to a nomination, even winning the most awards. But it is true, those critics groups could get behind giving Jason Isaacs or Ann Dowd the wins. Because Mask is coming out next week, and like, who knows about it except for like film people like us who are paying attention, who are at Sundance? Like, who knows about it?
We just don't have like a Daniel Kaluuya coming in to take the award yet. That's the thing. People didn't see Yoo Jung-yoon as winning the Oscar earlier on in the year, but they saw them as worthy of giving awards to. Like, I don't even know who else is worthy of giving those awards to right now.
It's a lot that could happen. I mean, it could be someone who's not even in the top 5.
So number 5, Andrew Garfield for Eyes of Tammy Faye. This is interesting because I definitely think it could fall off. But if they put the film in front of enough people to get Chastain in anywhere, then why couldn't he come along for the ride? Especially given this kind of thin competition.
He's also kind of a lead in this movie. He's also doing like a makeup transformation, weird voice, unrecognizable thing. The only thing is just with the movie's kind of weak box office performance and weak reviews overall, maybe it's just seen as a Chastain thing and he just can't go along for the ride. But when I came out of the movie, I was like, how do you not nominate Andrew Garfield?
A lot of people think that.
Another reason he'll probably be in supporting is because he'll be a strong contender for Tick, Tick, Boom. And they can get away with it, I think, and they'll do it if they can get away with it.
David Alvarez's character in West Side Story seems very likable and seems like he has a pretty big part from the trailer. You can tell he's got some moments, and this was an Oscar-winning performance in the first film.
Richard Jenkins in The Humans, I think we have him lower than anybody else, really. We really need to justify ourselves here, because some people were probably screaming at their computers or their phones watching this video saying, Richard Jenkins could win! Richard Jenkins could win! Can you hear me? I saw the movie. Did not feel like he was gonna win for that. I think he's great in the movie. But
he delivers like the climactic moment for his character behind a wall. There's another moment after that that's amazing, and he's not behind a wall, but that's also sort of in a longer shot. It really didn't strike me as something that would necessarily be nominated for an Oscar, let alone win. Just because, again, the film is like an A24 movie. Like, all the associations you have with A24, you can bring them to this one and then you know what to expect.
He has a lot of respect within the industry. He's been nominated twice before. I don't doubt that it's possible that he could get nominated for The Humans, but it's such a stretch to me when people say that he's going to win for it. I really just don't see how.
Troy Kotsur in Coda is so worthy of a nomination here. Honestly, I feel like a hypocrite for not making the same argument that I did for Jason Isaacs in Mass.
If Marlee Matlin's not going to get nominated...
Yeah, but that's an assumption as well.
I guess.
I'm not going to make an assumption on top of an assumption.
To me, Troy Kotsur is like the fourth nomination that would come with this movie. It'd be like Marlee Matlin, then it gets screenplay, then it gets picture, then it gets Troy Kotsur. You think he could get in without
I think he was
all that
the best
stuff?
supporting performance in the movie, I'll say that.
Critics are going to help him out. I think he's going to get some critics nominations. He could be like this year's Paul Raci, but again, Sound of Metal was Best Picture nominated. So
if Coda goes far, then I do think he could get in with it.
Cody Smith-McPhee, Power of the Dog. This is another one that other people have way more confidence in than we do. I just think that all the hype is going to be around Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst, and Cody Smith-McPhee's really good in it. I would not be opposed if he got nominated, but he doesn't really have like a definitive Oscar moment / doesn't cry in the movie. And does the Academy have him on their radar as someone they need to nominate, like Cody Smith-McPhee?
I think this is kind of his first film that he's done that's been in the Oscar circuit at all. So it seems like a nice introduction for him rather than something that he would get nominated for.
Ciarán Hinds getting a lot of hype for this performance in Belfast, but I think if Jamie Dornan's in the category with him, it's hard to imagine they nominate both of them. I guess it's not impossible. Ciarán Hinds is very good in it.
He does have a close-up monologue, like I was saying, though.
Timothy Spall for Spencer has one really good moment that is kind of an Oscar scene for him where he like shakes a little bit. I think he has maybe a better shot than Sally Hawkins based on how much he's in the movie, but his character still is just kind of like this butler.
Willem Dafoe in Nightmare Alley is playing like the town circus weird guy, and so I don't know if that makes him a prime candidate.
Oh, I think it would make him a prime candidate. My only concern is his screen time, because this character is in the beginning of the movie for a little bit and then they're gone.
Al Pacino in House of Gucci, we don't know how much Al Pacino is going to be in this 2.5 hour saga.
Could be a lot if it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, so we're just going to keep him around. We may as well just say somebody in Tick, Tick, Boom, but Robin de Jesus.
No, there's a reason for him, because his performance was Tony nominated or won on Broadway.
Mark Rylance in Don't Look Up. We don't know. It could be more of a cameo. You never know with a McKay film.
Could be Rob Morgan, too. Corey Hawkins' Tragedy of Macbeth, another one we need to explain, because other people think this is way higher than we do. He has two moments in the movie that I think are really good from him, but I just didn't see him standing out that much among the supporting cast. And certainly he doesn't come near the level of McDormand or Washington in the movie.
He feels like a notable side character.
We have Plemons for Power of the Dog. Cody Smith-McPhee is a little more dominant in this movie than he is. John Bernthal and King Richard's getting some hype. I haven't seen the movie. Maybe I'll be more convinced about this performance if I see it. But Reed Birney for Mass, virtually no chance that this happens, because Jason Isaacs is going to steal his thunder. Reed Birney easily would have been worthy for a nomination here. Original Screenplay. This is Belfast versus Licorice Pizza, and that is a hell of a competition, because you have Branagh, who is 5-time Oscar nominated, and he's going to get like a few more with his film. And then you have PTA, who's 8-time Oscar nominated. Very possible he could go up to 10 nominations without a win to his name. When you're thinking about who's going to win this category, you're like, are voters really going to pick Branagh over Paul Thomas Anderson? You're really going to deny Paul Thomas Anderson a screenplay Oscar here? Almost Famous won screenplay. I feel like it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, this could really be PTA's chance to win. If only Belfast weren't possibly going to steal its thunder.
In a way, you can't say that Belfast is winning picture if you don't think it's winning screenplay. This might be a category that we are on our toes for the night of, because it could potentially show that Belfast loses if it loses this category or something. I don't know.
Don't Look Up seems like it could be pretty in there for screenplay. It's going to be funny. It's going to be witty. Adam McKay's screenplays have been pretty undeniable for nominations, and he won for The Big Short.
King Richard looks like a very big Best Picture movie. It could be a case like where Ford v Ferrari or The Help, for example, they didn't get nominated for screenplay despite getting Best Picture, but I think King Richard might be bigger than that.
And then number 5 is Mass, and it does fit in somewhat comfortably here. Mass has an incredible screenplay, and it's actually stunning that this is original and that it didn't come off of some Tony-winning play. I'm really hoping this gets nominated here. Come On, Come On is number 6 because 20th Century Women was nominated. Mike Mills' screenplay here is amazing, and his writing has never been better.
Yeah, this is a brilliant screenplay. This and Mass. I mean, incredible dialogue in these two movies, and the writers branch could really latch onto these two. I'm curious to see if both or one of them can get in.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if these took out something like King Richard even though that will get nominated for Best Picture. Being the Ricardos is a Sorkin movie, so you have to have it on somewhere. Spencer, I thought it had a really good screenplay, but it wouldn't even need that to get nominated, honestly. It's less of like a screenplay movie than even Mass and Come On, Come On, which are very like righty.
Spencer might even be more likely for director than screenplay.
Yeah. Worst Person in the World has some really good dialogue, and I'll be crossing my fingers for that one.
Again, a hero, not his best film.
You really don't get nominated as an international filmmaker for films that aren't one of your very best.
Exactly. Pig, that would be cool to see critics group survive.
Probably fucking not.
Really good screenplay, probably not. Parallel Mothers, same thing. Is it absolute top tier Almodovar? Not hearing that so much.
Hand of God, same thing. Swan Song, haven't seen it yet. Power of the Dog, an adapted screenplay, seems like the number one unless you want to take a shot in the dark.
You made a really good point about this category and just both screenplay categories in general. Lately, they go to writer-directors a lot. And Jane Campion is the writer-director of Power of the Dog. It'd be easy to say, let's give her an Oscar.
Yeah, that's why Branagh and PTA are so competitive in that original screenplay category. And Jane Campion wrote this one, so that could be a really great way to award her for this film.
Also, clearly this category is not as stacked as the other.
Oh yeah, this is, by comparison, it's insane. House of Gucci seems like a screenplay movie. It's going to be them talking a lot in Italian accents, and
definitely.
It just sort of makes sense.
Nightmare Alley has to get in for screenplay, I think. It has to. A lot of talking, too.
Coda doesn't have so much competition that it gets kicked out, perhaps, and maybe this is like the one nomination it gets. I don't know. I'd be really happy if Coda got some bones thrown to it. And again, I'm really curious what the campaign Apple will run for this, because it is kind of like Mass, where, you know, if you show it to people, they might come. 5 and 6 interesting, because I'm not as convinced of this as you are, but West Side Story.
Tony Kushner is adapting this, who did Lincoln.
It could just go along with picture, but it's also like less of an effort when you adapt a musical.
Yeah, musicals aren't always the strongest in the screenplay category, but West Side Story might be big enough to pull it off, especially in this field.
The Humans is something I do think could sneak in here. If anything, the takeaway from that film is that the dialogue is really impressive and interesting. Like, there's so many lines you can pull and pick them apart. It's also really, really a writer's movie. Like, it's very writery.
The Lost Daughter, I'm going to see this on Wednesday, so I'll kind of figure out what this is all about, but it did win Screenplay at Venice. There's some buzz for it. Maggie Gyllenhaal wrote it, so there's like a face to this nomination. It might be more of like a critics sort of thing.
It's weird to have Dune below The Lost Daughter, but we both kind of agree that Dune has less of a shot in screenplay. It's just not something you come away from the film thinking much about. The story isn't even like that impressive. It's really just the spectacle.
The Revenant, Mad Max, Gravity. Huge contenders that are more just technical movies that don't get screenplay. It doesn't need screenplay to get Best Picture. Coming away from that movie, I am not thinking about the writing. I can tell you that. Tick, Tick, Boom. This could be a pretty righty type of musical. If it got into Best Picture, I'd certainly expect it. Macbeth, pretty low. Some people are way more convinced about this.
You would literally just be nominating Shakespeare for a play that he wrote many hundred years ago, and he's dead now.
Yeah, you're going to nominate Joel Cohen for like cutting out dialogue strategically. There's only been one Shakespeare adaptation that's ever been nominated for screenplay, and there are lots of examples of Shakespeare films that have contended at the Oscars that didn't even get screenplay. For example, Henry V from Kenneth Branagh. Nominated for director, not nominated for screenplay.
Passing's also a writer-director. It's a really interesting adaptation. Maybe some people are going to really go for that movie. Maybe it'll pop up in some top 10s at the end of the year. I wouldn't be shocked.
And those are our October predictions. Feel free to comment with your own predictions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Can you take down Belfast in Best Picture?